Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Michelle, and this year I'm a grade 4-5 teacher with the TDSB. I've been with the TDSB for quite a number of years, but this is my 12th year teaching in total. And one of my biggest passions is outdoor learning. And as COVID-19 started to hit around the world, I was seeing the impact that it was having on our students and our student population. And so I really wanted to look at how can we use outdoor learning as a way to improve children's mental health always, but particularly throughout the pandemic. So I'm going to start with a quick land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. And just in the interest of time, I'm not going to show this video on the screen, but it is a beautiful video with the land acknowledgement, and it really hits home the connection between Indigenous ways of knowing and outdoor education, but it is 3 minutes long, so I'm not going to show that today just in the interest of time. I'll just leave this quote on the screen. So there is no Wi-Fi in the forest, but I promise you will find a better connection. And so we're going to look at the connection, particularly between mental health and increased screen time, and how that's actually taking away from students' outdoor experiences. So our learning goals of today are to understand, going to get rid of that, to understand the impact that the pandemic has had on children's mental health. The second learning goal is to understand how outdoor education and being outside can actually help to mitigate these impacts and thereby improving behavior, social skills, and academic achievement of our children. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you a variety of activities that you can actually do outside. And these activities will range from 5 minutes to a half an hour. It's really as short or as long as you would like them to be. You can really modify them in whatever way that you wish. So here we go, hold on. All right, so what does the research say? So according to the research, children's mental health is an important factor for influencing identity, increasing positive self-esteem, developing healthy peer and family relationships, and coping with stress. So we know as educators, as parents, that our children's mental health is of utmost importance. If their mental health is not where it needs to be, everything else is going to suffer because of it. And this has particularly come to light during the current pandemic. We know that it has increased mental health challenges, and we often see it in our children, right? We see increased irritability, we see difficulty sleeping, we see challenges with concentration, boredom, worry, and stress. And this is coming right from Children's Mental Health Ontario, a 2020 study that was done. And even just as a side note, even as an educator coming back from virtual teaching, I was a fully virtual teacher last year, I'm in person this year, I see the impact that it's had the last year and a half on children to be away from their friends, to be learning in front of a computer, and to have very little time outside. And then there's an article I'm going to be sharing with you at the very end. It's called Green Time versus Screen Time. And it really does show the devastating impacts of screen time over that kids have had over the past 18 months. And then, so in terms of outdoor education and being in an outdoor environment, research has demonstrated that interacting with nature is highly beneficial for the mental health of children and teenagers. And then the World Health Organization has found that children raised with exposure to green spaces are 55% less likely to develop mental health issues such as stress-related illnesses. So this is huge, right? We need to get our kids outside. So let's take a look at some specific examples of the positive impact. So what does being outside do? So being outside, even for short periods of time throughout the run of a day, it's going to reduce stress and anxiety. So when children spend too long sitting inside, whether it's inside a bedroom or in a living room or in a classroom, they become restless and inattentive. So simply being outside in the fresh air offers children the chance to rest, relax, and reflect, and have a break from the routine. It also boosts confidence and self-esteem. So if they have the opportunity to work with other children on challenges in an outdoor environment, it helps them to grow in their confidence and self-esteem. In terms of mood and emotion, so while children are outside and engaging in physical activity, our bodily chemicals are released. So serotonin and dopamine are released, which help children deal with stress that they face in their everyday life and reduces the impact on their mental well-being. So just overall, being in an outside environment, again, even just for short periods in the run of a day, can help improve concentration, improve productivity in children. We see better behavior and more positive relations being developed. So I really like this graphic. One of the things that parents often talk to me about, and teachers as well, is the risks with being in an outdoor environment. Yes, there's definitely a higher risk for injury. There's a higher risk for allergies. There's a higher risk for bee stings, insect bites, things like that. But one thing I just want to highlight here is that the benefits far outweigh the risks. So children are moving more when they're outside, they're sitting less, they're playing longer. And in terms of the risky play, they learn to balance risks for themselves and their own safety. Right, so they start to learn what is safe for them and what isn't safe, rather than adults making that decision for them all the time. So that's really important when it comes to thinking about playing outside. So I have here a bunch of outdoor activities that you can do. So I selected 12. There are a ton. I am more than happy to share more with you, but these are the ones I find can be done in a short period of time and is a really good entry point for just getting kids outside. So I'm not going to go over all of them because there are 12 of them there, but I am going to highlight some of the ones that I particularly love. So the first one is the 5 senses exercise, and this really helps children to become more mindful. So they're using their 5 senses to explore their outdoor environment, the world around them. Oftentimes when we're outside, it's really to travel from one place to another. You're traveling from your car to a building or one building to another building. Very rarely are we actually outside and using our 5 senses to explore the world around us. So this is just step by step of what you can do with children outside. So different activities for using their sense of sight, their sense of sound, their sense of touch, their sense of smell, and their sense of taste. And so just getting them to have those conversations. So what are you smelling right now? Let's see what we smell in this area, see what we smell in this area. Do we notice a difference? Let's get closer to the ground. What are we smelling? Is there a difference between what we smell here and what we smell here? And so just getting kids to be more aware of their surroundings. There's a couple activities here that are quite similar to that, so I won't go over all of them, but I absolutely love the scavenger hunts. And so it's a very simple one, again, using the 5 senses. So you can actually get children to write down 3 things that they smell and hear, animals that they see, plants that they see, what their clothes feel like, what the air feels like. So you could do a simple scavenger hunt like this, or let me just come down a little bit. You can also do a bigger scavenger hunt. So there's a list here of things that you can actually go out into your environment and find. You can also get children to get involved in creating their own scavenger hunt. And so maybe they're finding something red, something blue. Maybe they want to try and find a particular type of animal. Maybe we want to find a raccoon. Are we going to be able to find a raccoon at this time of the day versus this time of the day, and why? And so it can really open up to many different learning opportunities. You can also bring in art into this as well, right? So we can look at different types of lines. So go out into your world and try to find a straight line, try to find a jagged line, try to find a broken line, try to find a swirl. And so getting kids to develop vocabulary as well as their sense of looking for things in their environment. This is a really cool activity as well. It's a sound map activity. And again, it kind of goes with the 5 senses exercise, but this one specifically focuses in on sound. So you can get kids to go out into an open space and just be there for a couple of minutes and get them to map out the sounds that they hear. So maybe they're hearing a plane go by, and they can represent that sound in words or in images. Maybe they're hearing some rustling in the grass to their right, and then they can represent that. And if you want to bring in the directions as well, if you want to help orient them north, south, east, west, you can do that. But really just getting them to listen in for sounds that are coming at them from different locations. And again, the idea behind this is, number one, to get outside, and number two, just be more mindful of what actually happens outside, and to improve their mental health by, it slows down their breathing. It helps them to be more in tune to what's around them. Let me see, which other one do I like? I really love this one too, the Adopt a Tree one. I always get students to do this every year. There's lots of things you can do with this. I've listed some examples of things you can do, but essentially what I do, I get kids to go outside and I get them to touch the different trees, and look at the trees, look at different aspects of the tree, and to choose one tree that particularly speaks to them. And it could be for, I'm just going to close this, hold on, there we go. It could be for whatever reason, right? It could be, they like the shape of it, they like the smell of it, whatever they like. They're going to give that tree a name. They're going to, and you could do lots of different math activities. They can estimate the number of leaves it has. They can count the number of red leaves, yellow leaves, green leaves. They can sit and they can sketch the tree, right? So they can do the overall shape and then put in some details in there. And then my absolute favorite part is getting kids to write a poem or a song or even a story about their tree. One student I had one year wrote a story about a tree. It was similar. I think the student was inspired by the giving tree and how this tree, the kid used to always go around the tree and swing on the branches and things like that. But now the kid was older and did not have the tree, or the tree didn't have the kid around all the time, and how that made the tree feel to be by himself all the time. And so anyway, you can get them to write story, songs, or poems. And I think this might be the last one that I talk about, which is land-inspired art. So this activity is based on the work of Andy Goldsworthy. Andy Goldsworthy is a British sculptor and designer. And essentially what he does is he goes out into his environment and he creates sculptures and mosaics and art pieces using only natural materials. So he'll use flowers, he'll use leaves, he'll use rocks, anything that has naturally fallen or is naturally present in his environment. So this is a great thing to teach kids as well, is to not go out and pick things from your environment to create something, but to use what is already existing to create something more beautiful. And so what kids can do is they can, well, first of all, there's lots of different websites online. You can get, they can get inspired by being, to look at different pictures online. And then they can go out in their natural environment and just create something. I have them record their art pieces by either sketching them or taking photos of them, because they're not meant to last, right? They will disappear. The weather will, take care of that. And so getting them to document their art pieces over time. So oh, hold on one sec. I'm just going to mute. Hang on one sec. Hold on. Oh, I don't know if I can mute people. Don't know if I have that power to do that. If your microphone is on, can you please? Oh, there we go. I think we're all good now. All right, so I am pretty much done. I do have 5 more minutes left, but I would like to open up for questions if people have questions about anything. I'm just going to, hold on, let me just going to go to my last slide here. So do we have any questions or comments about anything that was unclear about that? I'm more than happy to go over some of the other activities that I have in the slide deck for sure, but really the idea is just to get outside. And so I'm just going to see if there's anything else. Otherwise, I'm going to go over just a couple more activities that you can do. It doesn't look like we have any questions yet, so I'm going
Michelle,
to, yes?
it's my name is Durbin Anthony. I'm a TDSB employee.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very
Good.
good. Great presentation, I must
Thank
say.
you.
I'm a Learning Center 3 Nutrition Liaison Officer, and I love the presentation. Now, with that said, I love the idea of having, the kids going out and looking at trees. I think also I like your strategy, but as you're talking, I was thinking, oh, that could be done through STEM also too, because you could measure the trees as an example.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. There is so much. What I wanted to provide today was really an entry point,
Okay.
right? Like, how can we start getting outside? Because even as an educator, teachers are very hesitant to get outside because it's too much, right? Like, what do I even do, right? And especially from my own experiences going through school, I was never outside. I mean, we were outside making up our own games, but our teachers never took us outside to do things with us. And so as an educator, what do you do? And so I find that often what teachers are looking for is an entry point. So I take them outside and then what, right? And then as teachers get comfortable with getting their kids outside, like making sound maps, like let's look at a tree, let's just sketch this tree. Let's even just getting them to do sit spots, right? Find a spot outside. That's going to be your place. And just what do you notice outside and having those conversations with kids. So starting with that. And then, yes, I love your idea. Then you can do so much more with it, right? You can bring in STEM, right? You can bring in art. You can bring in inquiry, right? You can bring in science, like what's happening in our neighborhood, right? You can look at, great things that are happening in our neighborhood or some trouble spots, right? What are some things in our neighborhood that might not be working, or what things are working as we're walking outside? So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. There are so many different ways we can take this. And as educators, as parents get more comfortable taking kids outside, those will happen naturally. I've noticed that kids are the ones to take the lead for sure. And then you end up supporting them as they are out there and giving them those questions. But kids naturally love to explore the outside but even for kids, a lot of them don't have that experience with being out there very much. So even they have that hesitation. So it's important that we hit all of the entry points before we go too far with it. But thank you for bringing that up. Such a great point.
Can I add one more comment?
Absolutely.
There's so much disconnection. And lately I've been exploring with a number of my principals to see how we can get kids outside. Now, one of the things that we're really, really, truly exploring and focusing on now, because let's look at our school. The playgrounds are really have lots of trees. So we're hoping this particular coming spring is to tap maple syrup.
Oh,
and
use it
towards and using it towards our nutrition programs.
Yeah, that would be really great. Yeah. That's a great idea. And you're lucky to have that space, right? I feel very lucky too. At my school, we back onto the Humber Arboretum. So we have lots of green space. But I just want to assure people as well that even if you don't have that space, even if it's hard to find trees, there's so many other things that you can do. Like you can do this, in a local park. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be in a grand green space or a conservation area. It can just be, really whatever works for you.
Yeah. Yes. The insect diversity. I mean, everything, just the diversity of.
Absolutely. And one of the things I do with grade 6 students is I get them to have a hula hoop. I get them to have a hula hoop, and they put the hula hoop on the grass, and in that patch of grass, they look for diversity in there. So is there, like, we have grass, are there insects, leaves that have fallen, like soil, like what are we able to find in that 1 meter space? So there's so much that you can do for sure.
Yeah. Boy, you know what? I will definitely keep in touch with you, because every time you speak, I end up getting more ideas. I mean, living in South America, what we used to do for outdoor, you get the 6 hula hoops, you put the 6 together, You trace it,
Yes,
and then you have a hexagon. And
right.
there's so many things, but we'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. I'll pop my email address there in the chat. And for anybody else too, if you want to get in touch, for sure. This is a huge passion of mine. And I feel like it's more important. It was always important, but now more so than ever, as we're navigating COVID-19. And just from a safety perspective, it's safer for kids to be outside right now as opposed to being inside. And it doesn't have to be just a spring and summer thing, right? You know, we don't have to take kids outside for a long period of time. We can even go out in the winter, you know, and talk about, you know, dressing appropriately for the conditions and things like that. But now more so than ever, it's important that we're getting them outside. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for your comments and questions. That's awesome. And thank you everybody for coming. I love talking about this stuff. I could keep talking all day about this stuff. There's some, you know, just sort of additional activities on your screen. I'm hoping there's a way that I can share this with you. I don't know if they're uploading these anywhere, but again, my email address is there. So if they don't share it with you, just be in touch with me. I'm more than happy to share this so you have the activities, ideas, and can get in touch with me. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference.